3 p.m. hits. You just finished lunch 2 hours ago. You're not hungry, but suddenly you'd murder someone for chocolate, or cookies, or literally anything sweet. You tell yourself it's stress, lack of sleep, bad genes, weak willpower. But here's the truth, your body's trying to tell you something, and you can't hear it. Because there's a hormone, leptin, that's supposed to shut down cravings and tell your brain you're satisfied. Except yours stopped working. Not because you're broken, but because your cells learned to ignore it. It's like your body's fire alarm is screaming, but someone ripped out all the speakers. Once you understand why leptin went silent, cravings don't feel like a battle anymore. They feel like a signal you can finally decode. Today, we're finding out why your brain stopped listening, what your organs are really arguing about, and how to make your fullness hormone work again. Let's fix what's been screaming in silence. Right now, your fat cells in your brain should be having a conversation. Your fat cells are supposed to release leptin, your body's "we're good, stop eating" hormone. It floats up to your brain like a text message. Hey, we've got plenty stored, no need to panic. And your brain's supposed to respond cool, cravings off, energy stable. Except your brain's on do not disturb. The messages are sending, but nobody's reading them. Let me introduce the team that's currently miscommunicating. Your fat cells are the messengers, sitting on a mountain of stored energy, trying desperately to tell everyone we're full, seriously. But they've been sending so many messages for so long, they're basically spam at this point. Your brain, specifically your hypothalamus, is the CEO who should be reading these emails. But the inbox is overflowing, and it stopped checking months ago. Your pancreas is the middle manager, pumping out insulin every time you eat, getting more frantic each time. And your liver? Stressed, overworked, converting every surplus calorie into fat, while everyone argues about whether you're actually hungry or not. Here's what's happening in real time. You eat a meal. Decent, balanced, enough calories. Your fat cells release leptin. It should hit your brain and shut off hunger signals. But your brain doesn't respond. So your stomach's still sending ghrelin, the hunger hormone, because as far as your brain knows, you're starving. Meanwhile, your fat cells are screaming, "We literally just ate." But nobody's listening. It's like being at a party where everyone's yelling and no one can hear. But why did your brain stop listening in the first place? That's where the real problem begins. And it starts with a hormone you thought was the good guy. Here's what actually happens. Every time you eat sugar or refined carbs, insulin spikes. That's normal. Insulin's job is to unlock your cells and shove glucose inside for energy or storage. But here's the problem. Constant high insulin builds walls around your brain's leptin receptors. Imagine leptin is knocking on the door trying to deliver a message. But insulin's been stacking furniture against it for months. The message is there. The signal's strong. But your brain literally can't hear it because insulin blocked the entrance. This is leptin resistance, and it's why you feel hungry even when you're full. Once leptin resistance sets in, everything spirals. Your brain thinks you're starving because it can't hear leptin's "we're good" signal. So it cranks up ghrelin, the hunger hormone, telling you to eat more. You eat more, insulin spikes again, which makes leptin resistance worse, which makes your brain panic more, which makes you crave even more sugar for quick energy. It's like turning up the volume on a broken speaker. You're just making noise, not fixing the connection. Meanwhile, your fat cells keep releasing leptin, but they're shouting into the void. They eventually get tired and stop trying as hard. Now you've got high leptin levels floating around, but none of it's reaching headquarters. Your body's fullness alarm is ringing in an empty room. Sugar isn't just fuel, it's an insulin bomb. When you eat sugar, your blood glucose skyrockets. Your pancreas, already stressed, dumps massive amounts of insulin to deal with it. That insulin doesn't just handle the sugar. It camps out in your bloodstream for hours, constantly reinforcing those walls around your leptin receptors. The more often you spike insulin, the thicker those walls get. Eventually, your brain's leptin receptors are buried so deep. It's like trying to hear someone whisper during a rock concert. And here's the cruel twist. When your brain can't hear leptin, it interprets that silence as starvation. So it triggers intense sugar cravings to get energy fast. You're not weak. You're not addicted to sugar. Your brain genuinely thinks you're dying of hunger, so it's screaming for the quickest fuel available. Translation: pass the cookies, we're in survival mode. So, if constant insulin is the problem, what happens when you finally let it drop? That's where things get interesting and surprisingly fast. Let's say you stop the sugar and carb roller coaster right now. For the first 12 hours, your body's confused. Insulin levels are finally dropping, but your brain's leptin receptors are still blocked. Your fat cells are releasing leptin, but the signal's weak. Meanwhile, your brain's like, where's the sugar? And ghrelin's going haywire. This is peak craving territory. You'll feel it. That buzzing, anxious need for something sweet. Your stomach might growl even if you just ate. That's not real hunger. That's your brain throwing a tantrum because the usual insulin rush isn't coming. It's withdrawal, not starvation. Your body's running on its emergency glucose stores, pulling from your liver's glycogen stash, and it's not happy about the change. By hour 12 to 24, something shifts. Insulin's been low long enough that those walls around your leptin receptors start to thin. It's like someone's finally clearing the furniture from the door. Leptin starts getting through. Not fully, but in small signals. Your brain receives its first real we're okay message in weeks, maybe months. The panic eases slightly. Ghrelin calms down a bit. You're not out of the woods yet. Cravings are still there. But they're less screaming, more background noise. Your liver's still supplying steady glucose, keeping things stable. Your pancreas, that frantic middle manager from earlier, is finally getting a break, producing way less insulin. And your fat cells, they're cautiously optimistic. Like, wait, is someone finally listening? The communication line is crackling back to life. Between 24 and 48 hours, leptin sensitivity starts to properly restore. The receptors in your hypothalamus are clearing out. Messages are getting through. Your brain finally hears we have stored energy. We're not starving. Chill out. And for the first time in forever, it listens. Cravings start to fade, not because you're white-knuckling it, but because your brain actually feels satisfied. Your fat cells, those desperate messengers, are finally getting red receipts. They're throwing a party. Ghrelin drops to normal levels. You eat a meal, leptin rises, your brain registers fullness, and you just stop eating. Like a normal person, without a battle. That's leptin working. That's the conversation restored. By 72 hours, your leptin sensitivity is significantly improved. Not perfect. It takes weeks to fully heal if resistance was severe, but functional. Your brain and fat cells are talking again. Here's what you notice. Sugar doesn't call your name from across the room anymore. You can walk past a bakery without plotting a heist. You eat a meal and feel done, satisfied. The anxious hunting for snacks feeling vanishes. Energy stabilizes because your brain's no longer panicking about starvation. Your mood evens out. And weirdly, fat starts coming off easier because your brain finally knows you have reserves to burn. The system's back online, communication restored, the fire alarm works again. Okay, so that's the timeline. But here's the part nobody tells you. The reason you got here isn't just sugar. It's 3 sneaky habits that kept insulin high and leptin blocked. And once you see them, you'll realize you've been doing at least 2 without knowing they were sabotaging everything. The first one tricks almost everyone. Every time you eat, even something healthy, insulin rises. Doesn't matter if it's almonds, fruit, or chicken. Food equals insulin response. If you're eating every 2 to 3 hours, like fitness magazines suggest, insulin never fully drops. Your leptin receptors never get a break from the assault. It's like trying to hear someone while a jackhammer runs constantly, versus turning it off for a few hours. The fix isn't eating less total food. It's giving your body 4 to 6 hour gaps between meals. Let insulin fall. Let leptin break through. Those gaps are when healing happens. Your brain needs silence to hear the signal. And then there's liquid sugar. Juice, soda, fancy coffee drinks, even healthy smoothies. They're insulin nukes. When you drink sugar, it hits your bloodstream faster than solid food. No fiber to slow it down, no chewing to trigger satiety signals. Your pancreas sees that spike and dumps massive insulin to handle it. That insulin surge doesn't just deal with the sugar. It reinforces leptin resistance for hours afterward. One venti caramel macchiato at 10 a.m., and your leptin receptors are muffled until dinner. You might as well put earplugs in your brain. Solid food gives you a fighting chance. Liquid sugar is sabotage in a cup. If you're drinking calories, you're training your brain to stay deaf. But here's the one nobody connects. Get less than 7 hours of sleep, and your leptin drops by 15 to 20% the next day. Meanwhile, ghrelin spikes. Your brain's already struggling to hear leptin. Now the signal's weaker, and the hunger noise is louder. Plus, sleep deprivation jacks up cortisol, which raises insulin, which blocks leptin receptors further. It's a triple threat. You're essentially walking around with your body's volume at 30%, while hunger's screaming at 150%. No wonder you crave sugar after a bad night. Your brain's legitimately desperate for energy because it thinks you're starving. You can't out-eat bad sleep. Fix your sleep, or leptin never stands a chance. So now you know what's been silencing your fullness signal. Let's make it loud again. Here's how to restore leptin sensitivity in the real world. Stop eating at least 4 hours before bed. That last meal sets your overnight insulin baseline. Finish dinner by 7 p.m. if you sleep at 11. Give insulin time to drop so leptin can work while you sleep. During the day, space meals 4 to 6 hours apart. No snacks between. I know it feels wrong. We've been told to keep metabolism going with constant eating. That's exactly what kept you resistant. Your metabolism doesn't need stoking. Your leptin receptors need breaks. Think of it like rebooting your router. You have to disconnect to reconnect. When you break your overnight fast or start any meal, eat protein and healthy fats before touching carbs. Protein and fat slow insulin release and trigger fullness hormones early. They're like text messages that actually get through. If you start with carbs, toast, cereal, fruit, insulin spikes immediately and drowns out leptin before the meal even ends. You'll finish eating and still feel unsatisfied, hunting for more. Protein first means leptin has a fighting chance to register. Eggs, avocado, Greek yogurt, nuts. Give your brain the clear signal first. Nothing to drink except water, black coffee, or unsweetened tea between meals. No juice, no soda, no protein shakes as snacks. No just one flavored latte. Every liquid calorie triggers insulin without triggering fullness. You're spiking the hormone that blocks leptin without getting any of the satiety signals that solid food provides. It's all cost, no benefit. Save beverages with calories for actual meals if you must, but ideally drink nothing but water. Let your brain hear silence. This isn't negotiable. Leptin production happens during deep sleep. Miss sleep, and you're manufacturing the very problem you're trying to fix. Set a bedtime alarm, not just a wake-up alarm. Dim lights 90 minutes before bed. Park your phone in another room. Cool your bedroom down. Sleep is when leptin resets. Treat it like medicine, because it is. If you're deep in resistance, give yourself one full 24-hour period of just water, black coffee, and maybe bone broth. Let insulin plummet. Let leptin receptors clear completely. It's not starvation. It's hitting the reset button hard. Your body has weeks of stored energy. One day of fasting won't hurt you. It'll remind your brain what real hunger versus fake cravings feels like. Do these things, and within 72 hours, your brain starts hearing fullness again. Within 2 weeks, cravings feel like someone turned down the volume on a screeching radio. You're not fighting anymore. You're just not hungry. So here's where you are now. Your sugar cravings weren't about willpower or discipline or being broken. They were about a hormone, leptin, that's been trying to tell your brain we're satisfied for months, maybe years. But insulin kept blocking the message. Every spike, every snack, every late-night meal stacked furniture against the door until your brain couldn't hear anything but hunger. But now you know the truth. Drop insulin, clear the path, and leptin breaks through. In 72 hours, your brain starts listening. In 2 weeks, cravings quiet down. In a month, you'll wonder why food used to control you. You didn't need more willpower. You needed to fix the signal. Space your meals, skip the liquid sugar, protect your sleep, and let insulin fall so leptin can finally be heard. Your body's fire alarm was never broken. The room was just soundproofed. You cleared the furniture, opened the door, and turned the speakers back on. Now your brain can finally hear what your fat cells have been screaming all along. We're full, we have energy, stop hunting. The cravings don't own you anymore. You just learned their language.